It's been a weird couple months at Square Enix. In February, news broke that the company would be shutting down its Luminous Productions, the studio responsible for Final Fantasy XV, shortly after disappointing sales from their recently released $100 million action RPG Forspoken. Released in early 2023, Forspoken received less than stellar review scores, with many players taking issue with the game's characters and dialogue. While I myself have not played this one, based on the clips and reviews I've seen, they really went all out on a script that just sounds like it's something plucked out of a bad Marvel movie or something.
I just move shit with my mind.
Perhaps our connection has somehow awoken some abilities.
I just moved shit with my mind.
I just keep hearing I.
I just move shit
Personally,
with my
I can't
freaking
stand it, and I don't think this is the kind of game that I'll be investing any of my time into. To me, this game seems like an obvious example of the company chasing trends and failing. Similar to the recent and very short-lived Final Fantasy VII, The First Soldier. This is another one that I had very little interest in playing, but if anyone watching has played it, please let me know what your thoughts are on the comments. For me, this just looked like another lazy attempt at chasing trends, this time being a Battle Royale style game, such as the massively successful Fortnite. But as far as Luminous and Final Fantasy XV go, from a sales standpoint alone, it seems to have done really well, selling over 10 million copies and becoming one of the best-selling Final Fantasy games in the entire series. So it does strike me a little bit harsh for them to shut down the studio after only 2 releases, especially following the recent selling off of Crystal Dynamics. If you're not familiar, Crystal Dynamics is the American studio responsible for handling the Tomb Raider franchise, and they were recently involved in the live service Marvel Avengers game. Now, one of the biggest changes at Square Enix is coming from the top, with news announcing the departure of Yusuke Matsuda as CEO of the company after 10 years in the role. I think it's a little bit too early to say if this is going to affect future releases or anything like that, but I know that it's something that a lot of fans are paying attention to. And one thing is clear, that's that NFTs are unfortunately here to stay, at least for now. Despite the last couple of years of declining markets and talks of recession and a clear lack of interest in NFTs from the majority of the Final Fantasy fanbase, Square Enix just recently announced their mobile NFT game, Symbiogenesis, featuring 10,000 NFT characters that I guess potentially hold value and can be traded or whatever. This announcement has been met with massive criticism, as it seems like another example of Square Enix aimlessly chasing trends that I don't think a lot of their fans actually care about. In spite of all this news, however, I personally couldn't be any more excited to be a Final Fantasy fan right now. Final Fantasy XVI is set to release in just a couple months, and it's looking absolutely breathtaking. Yoshida Naoki and his team have been outspoken in their confidence in the game, and I don't think it could be in better hands. Final Fantasy XVI is going to be vastly different than the games before this. The biggest change being that Final Fantasy XVI will feature a fully action-based combat system, and will only have one controllable party member, that being Clive, the protagonist. Coming from the perspective of a longtime fan of this series, I can see how this would be worrying, as every Final Fantasy game since 10 has distanced itself further from the turn-based roots, but they've had varying degrees of success. I do think that with this release, Yoshida and the team that are making this entry, they really do have a great understanding of the common themes that make Final Fantasy games feel like Final Fantasy games. And from the footage I've seen, I think they will be able to present those ideas in an actual refreshing way. And most importantly, it looks to me like they're making a game that not only tells a captivating story, but it just looks fun to play. New footage of the game just dropped from PAX East, showing off more details of the game, such as some of the large open environments, and they're looking absolutely stunning. The presentation even goes into more depth about the characters and the narrative, as well as the producers even answering some of the internet's more burning questions, such as, why is this game so dark? And why is this an action game and not an ATB game? And from everything I've seen so far, I'll just say that it's exciting to see Square Enix create a game that they're actually passionate about and are taking chances with to really be its own thing. Because I kind of think that's what worked so well with Final Fantasy games in the past. They all kind of have an individuality to them. And as more footage and interviews are released, I've kind of changed from coming into this game with a fair deal of skepticism to actually being very excited for it. It may be even more so than any Final Fantasy game released in years. Final Fantasy XVI seems to be shaping up into something really different, and I cannot wait to get my hands on it. However, I do also hope that Square Enix will pay a little more attention to what their fans actually want to see out of their favorite series. Whether that be new entries in games like Chrono, Dragon Quest, new IPs, or even remakes of old classics. You know, there's one thing I can say with certainty, and that's if Square Enix continues to put so much of their focus on chasing trends like Marvel movies, Fortnite, NFTs, and they lose sight of being the ones who actually create the trends in gaming, then it's going to take a lot more than just Final Fantasy XVI's success to put the company back on the right track. Anyway, thanks for watching. I might do a follow-up to this one if more Final Fantasy XVI news comes out that I'm interested in covering. I don't know, just let me know what your thoughts are on it in the comments, and yeah, I can't wait to check this game out, and we'll for sure be streaming it on my channel. So, if that sounds cool to you, well, yeah, I guess that's it. See ya.
Peanuts, pineapple smell.